Hello.
Hello, this is Jim, my brother. He lives in Nottingham, so he's gone to have a look at Watson Fothergill's Queen's Chambers on the square so I can attempt to describe it to you like I do on my tour. Go for it. Shall we go from there? Do it with your camera and then we'll stick it all together later. I'm Lucy Brouwer of Watson Fothergill Walk, and I'm at home, not walking in the centre of town. My brother Jim, who lives in Nottingham, is going to attempt to video one of the buildings that I feature on my tour, and I'm going to try and tell you about it, and then we'll put that all together, and hopefully that will be a taster of what you would get on one of my tours. So we're here, or he's there. This is Queen's Chambers, which was built as part of the widening of King and Queen Street, that Y shape of streets that comes off the Market Square. In the late 1890s. And Fothergill got two jobs out of this. There's the Jessop's store on the other side of the road, and there is this, which is Queen's Chambers, built between 1896 and 1899 for Edward Skipwith and Co., who was a wine and spirit merchant. And this gave him a new and impressive frontage onto the square, replacing his earlier shop. This is a bigger building and it includes offices and four shops underneath. If you go up to the projecting timbered gables, which are the black and white Tudor-looking windows that are up above Co-op Travel and above the Barbers, those two windows there, those are projecting half-timbered gables. And you'll see there are a lot of chimneys on this building, and they're all very tall. And you've even got a crenellated tower with gargoyles in the middle. Lots of oriel windows, which are the ones that project off the building with the stone outlines to them. That's a little bit of a hint of Gothic, which is Fothergill's favoured style. You've got polychromatic brickwork, which is the stripes of blue bricks in the orange or red background. So it's a commercial building built with domestic details. If you go down a little bit to the frieze across the top of the first floor, that's a terracotta frieze with the shields in it. And some of those shields have got greyhounds. Can you close up a greyhound, please? Now, that greyhound is, and the stripes, is the coat of arms of the Skipwiths. And that's a little nod to this fascination with the medieval that Fothergill and presumably Skipwith shared. Now, the whole building looks a little bit like the style of Richard Norman Shaw, an architect who's a little bit earlier than Fothergill, and he's one of Fothergill's architectural heroes. And he's famous for a building called Cragside in Northumberland, which is a National Trust building that you might have seen pictures of. And you've got that differing roof line, the way that the roof hits the sky at different levels. Okay, Jim, can you move down towards the door and towards the end of the building at the Market Square end, please? I really love this building. It's really impressive, and it's great to watch people notice it as they walk by because they suddenly realise there's a castle tower with gargoyles on it in the middle of town. Okay, Jim, can you move down towards the Tyrrell on the corner, the tower? On the corner of the building into the square, you've got what's called a Tyrrell, that little turret, and at the bottom of that, the pillar. Now, there's a line of pillars all the way along, long row along the square, and they have this colonnade all the way down with a little covered area that overhangs, a little bit of shelter from the rain, if you like. And that was there all the way through from the 17th century and has been sort of incorporated into the more modern buildings that are on Long Row. And of course, this being a Fothergill building, you haven't got a plain pillar, you've got a double fluted marble pillar with a Tyrrell on top. Fancy. And the Tyrrell has got mythical beasts on it, like cats and gargoyles, and they're inspired by another architect who was a hero of Fothergill's, William Burgess. And Burgess did a lot of really fantastical Gothic revival stuff, particularly at Cardiff Castle. And he worked for the Earl of Bute, who was the richest man in the kingdom, and they really went wild. They used to smoke opium and come up with ideas for what they would have. So if you're ever in Cardiff again, Cardiff Castle and the clock tower there, that's the work of Burgess, and that makes Fothergill look very plain, the amount of decoration that's on that. If you go slightly to the right of the Tyrrell, and you're in front of the White Rose shop, there's a chimney at the top. Can you go up towards that chimney and you should find Queen Victoria, a head of Queen Victoria. Now, this building is called Queen's Chambers to mark the 60th Jubilee of Queen Victoria, and she's on the building there, and she doesn't look too happy about having been on the throne for all that time. You can just see her. If you can zoom in on that, if it's possible, that would be great. Fothergill comes late to this Gothic style that he's using here, and it's his own mix of elements, a bit of a fantasy of domestic architecture on a commercial scale, if you like, although it is domestic now because there are student flats in it, like with a lot of the other buildings in the centre of town. Forgot a thing. Just on the Tyrrell, there's what looks like a little broken bit of masonry just at the bottom of the window where it joins the pillar, and you can just make out the word architect, and that's where Fothergill's signature would have been, but it's got lost somewhere in one of over time or in one of the restorations of this building. So if somebody somewhere's got the words Watson Fothergill on their mantelpiece, I'd love to know where that is. Now, this started off as the wine and spirit merchant for Edward Skipwith, and around the turn of the century it became the Guardian Mutual Life Assurance, and on the corner there was a branch of Salmon and Gluckstein tobacconists, part of the Lions Corner House firm. And then there was a bookseller and stationer where the Barbers is now, and I think a shirt or hat shop in the other shop, and round the front a florist and fruiterer. That's a little taster of the tour. Thank you for joining us. Jim, is that okay? Can you come back to me now?